TikTok at Treasure Coast Radio. From the Treasure Coast to everywhere around the world, worldwide, TreasureCoastRadio.com.
New to St. Lucie County, Creative Learning Lab Academy, founded in 1972 in Los Angeles, California, with over 50 years of educating students, Creative Learning Lab Academy is now in St. Lucie County. Call us today to place your young scholar's name on the registration list. Creative Learning Lab Academy, 855-830-2552, is now accepting applications from 3 months old to 5th grade. Creative Learning Lab Academy provides 21st century curriculum, clubs, and activities for our young scholars, including chess, robotics, coding, dance, music, basketball, soccer, and golf. We accept all programs, including Step Up for Students and VPK. We offer private pay and in-house financing. Transportation will be provided to those who qualify. Creative Learning Lab Academy strives to create an environment where teachers, students, and parents are a family. It has been their belief for 50 years that
no child has to fail, and every child can be exceptional.
They embrace the following concept:
I am because we are.
For more information, contact us at 855-830-2552. Again, that's 855-830-2552, or visit creativelearningslc.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Treasure Coast Radio.
He is my king, he is my one. Yes, he's my father, yes, he's my son. I can talk to him, cause he understands everything I go through and everything I am. He's my support system, I can't live without him. The best thing since sliced bread is his kiss, his hugs, his lips, his touch. And I just want the whole world to know about my black brother. I love you, and I'll never try to hurt you. I want you to know that I'm here for you forever true. Cause you're my black brother, strong brother, and there is no one above you. I want you to know that I'm here for you.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Mindset with the one and only Sherelle. I am so thankful that you guys are tuning in this evening. I tell you guys every week, you could be anywhere in the world doing anything, but you're choosing to tune in here with me on Mindset, and I am so thankful and just so excited. We have just an amazing show in store, and before we get into all that, you guys know I have to get into our housekeeping. Shout out to our sponsor over at Creative Learning Lab Academy, Chris Madison. Chris, it was so great to see you last week. If y'all watched last week's show, Chris walked in on the side. It totally broke my concentration because I was so excited to see him. So that just gives you guys an idea as viewers. It's all love. I mean, this whole entire atmosphere is just, it's all love. So Chris, thank you for sponsoring our show and for also just gracing us with your presence and just being an amazing person that you are and doing some amazing things here in the Treasure Coast. Make sure you guys check out creativelearninglabslc.com to see what Chris is doing and just, you know, the things that we have for our young people. You guys, I am so excited for our guest. I have the one and only, my good friend, my old boss, the one and only Jindal Georges. Give it up to her. One time for Jindal. Y'all, Jindal was a boss, a supervisor of mine, and he will forever have the title boss. Like, I think all of us still call you boss to this day, and you're not even our boss anymore. And it's such a blessing because you became a friend outside of being my supervisor, and you know, you showed me a lot. When I first met you, I was, 23, 24? Telling my age. I was still in school. I was trying to finish my degree and figure out this thing called life. And I remember one thing you always told me was to get my education, and you know, you never crippled me, and I thank you for that. You spoke so much life at such an impressionable age, and I don't even think you realized you did that. So I thank you.
No,
And I welcome
appreciate
you.
that. I appreciate that.
For those who don't know, y'all, Jindal he's as cool as a cucumber, y'all. Cooler than the other side of the pillow. I mean, he just laid back, but that laid backness balanced my high-strung personality. Y'all, there would be times where I would be on call, 3, 4 in the morning, calling Jindal, freaking out. He'd be that calm, cool. Well, you gotta find placement. Yeah, you're right, but that's not what I want to hear right now. But you always made sure you balanced me. So again, I thank you and I welcome you to Mindset.
I appreciate it.
How you feeling? How have things been going for you?
Things been going. I appreciate the little welcome and convo you just provided. I guess
it's the truth.
It's humbling to hear. I mean, I appreciate it very much. I think for many years, I just looked at the big picture of how do we do things in life, you know? Are we going to be chaotic, or are we just going to be level-headed about it, you know? Just be appreciative for what we have and who we have around us. And I think everybody that I try to come in contact with I was just going to treat as family, you know?
And you did that. I mean, my family still to this day loves you. You know, rest in peace to my dad.
folks.
My dad loved you. My mom still loves you. I mean, everyone, like I said, you've definitely become a part of the Mansfield family. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
You know, I know that in knowing you, yes, I know I can confidently say I know a lot about you, but I also know that there's a lot about you that you've kept to yourself. So y'all know as always, we gonna get into some things.
You're right to break it all out.
We gonna get into some things.
I'm a little private, but I work with you.
Just remember, if you ain't real, the viewers gonna know it.
There you go.
They gonna pick up on it. So
Only those that have been very close.
that's been
would
privy,
right.
that you've let in. I jokingly, I made an Instagram video, and I said, you know, we call him Dr. Kakapuku, because you're really close to having your PhD. You could be a doctor of what 6 months if you went back, right?
Yeah, less than
5 months, less than 6 months. I mean,
3 to 4 classes. Yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
And so let's go through it. You know, born and raised where?
I was born in Haiti.
You were born in what part of Haiti?
Cap-Haïtien,
Cap-Haïtien. Now, where is that? For those of us who don't know, you know, we have the capital, Port-au-Prince. Where is that?
Outside of Port-au-Prince, for me personally, I couldn't tell you a whole lot of detail.
What do you remember?
I left Haiti at a very young age. Didn't follow much about it. You know, separated different family side. Father's side lived in Port-au-Prince, and my mother's side lived in Okap, which is called Cap-Haïtien.
Okay.
But I was there till maybe about 8 years old, and that's when my mother sent for me, because I was living there, I guess, with my aunt or my grandmother. I don't know who I was.
And mom was already in Miami?
Yes, mom
Okay.
had left
Okay.
and went off to Miami
Okay.
at a very young age, probably like 4 years old. I think she moved to the United States, and at that time I just stayed with my grandma, I assume she told me at the time.
And that's one thing about the culture. You just kind of have to take in what they tell you. You don't really ask many questions, huh?
No, there's no asking questions. I mean, I think as we grew up in the culture, we understand the purpose. It was never for malicious thought, reason. It was never intended to hurt you. I mean, if you think about it, you're coming from a third world country. How do you come to America? You really don't make it to America that easy.
People are always trying to get out, for sure. So when you came to the States, I'm assuming you had to learn English.
Absolutely.
So what was that like? You had that thick little Creole accent at 8 years old.
I think at the time it was not cool to be a little Haitian. Growing
Now
up
it
in the
is.
school,
Jacqueline and everybody else done made it real cool to be Haitian.
Now they're fortunate because some of the old folks paved that way for them.
Yes, that's for sure.
But it was tough. I mean,
especially
just
being in
adjusting.
Miami, because I mean that's already. It's not like Port St. Lucie. We're a little bit slower, and you were in a major busy city.
Absolutely.
Did you experience any bullying or anything back then for sounding different? Because I know I got it for talking different from being from New York, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, I think how they say you become a product of your environment. I think it was more like, what do? You're gonna keep getting bullied, or you're gonna do something about it.
So what did you do about it?
You started retaliating. I mean, I think the first time reality hit me was I think my mother I was probably about 10 years old. My mother sent me to the corner store to buy a bag of rice. You know, at that time we're living in poverty, of course, coming from a third world country, didn't have much. You know, family didn't have educational background. They just migrated here, and all probably try to live together. You know, in one household, you probably have 5, 6 siblings there, cousin, my mom's siblings there.
Wow.
You know, probably sharing a room with your uncle, your brother, and everyone else. So I remember my mother sent me to the little corner store to buy a bag of rice. And back then we called them Yankee boys.
Was that us up north?
Yeah, we call African American Yankee boys, 'cause back then they were kind of bullying us. And I went in the store, and the kid, you know, my mother always like putting nice little jewelry. She dressed us up, you know, take us to church like that. And I remember the kid said, he came up to me, he was like, well, let me see. And he grabbed my chest, and he started looking at my chain, and he just snatched it off my neck.
He took your chain?
Yeah, and took it off. And I was like, huh. I mean, what am I going to do? This is a big boy. He's going to probably go knock me out.
Oh.
So at the time, I said, oh, this is how this works, huh? So if you don't do something, you're going to get
took.
You're going to get taken. So at the time, I started putting on a little different facade. I started stop speaking to too many people, didn't be too friendly with people, and just be cautious and conscientious who's around you.
So that's when this Jandel was birthed, the arch nemesis.
I was always a wise kid.
But
very
you
curious.
knew I'm not going to sit here and talk to everybody, but I'm going to observe. That's one thing you may not be able to tell you everybody's names, but when you walk into a store, you'll know every exit. I know that much about you.
There's a book I used to read about, it was actually, believe it or not, it's playing cards. When I walk in any environment, I assess everyone.
Absolutely.
I already know how many people might become a threat and who's not going to become a threat, and I'll leave 2 behind.
Yep, I know that's
and
right.
And those 2 would be the 2 that I pay attention to, that I got to compete against. Other than that, I'm fine.
That's right, but you're very, very observant, I will say that.
Absolutely.
So after that happened, what was, as you're going through school and living in a crowded house and just trying to figure out life, I mean, okay, so this is elementary school. What was your middle school years like? Because that's kind of the age where young men, you know, your hormones you start to, you know, kind of feel like, I got the juice, you know, and I know you played sports, right? Well, when did you start playing sports? Was it middle school, high school, college?
I've been playing sports since I was a little boy, because all we did was stay outside playing soccer.
With rocks and stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we lived in a little town that was like Cité Chauvel, I think, and I remember just living up the hill, and we'll be playing soccer on top of the hill. Like pretty much the hill slanted, and we playing soccer back and forth.
Yep.
So at that time, that's when sports all started, because that was the only thing you had to do for fun.
That you could do.
Yeah.
So you started playing sports. Did you start because your dad, at this point, Dad was in Haiti still, or?
Dad died at 4. Well, I was 5. I think Dad died maybe a year after my mom left.
Do you remember anything about him?
Believe it or not, as traumatic as it could be, I think I remember. The only thing I could remember was 2 things. I remember he did take me to the movies, probably when I was 4. I think that's what happened, because I remember his face, and then I remember on his dying bed he had IVs and stuff all through his mouth, and he had some blue stuff coming out of his mouth. I was like, what the hell, going on? And he grabbed my head and was like, my son, something I love you. I don't know what he said. Really? But that's the only thing I can actually remember.
When he took you to the movies, was he in good health, or?
Yeah, he but that was just the slight moment. I don't remember anything intricate behind that.
That stood out to you, though. Because some people can argue that 4 years old, sometimes we don't have memories of 4. You know what I mean? Some people say I can remember things as young as 2. So that's interesting that you remember a good moment and then the worst moment.
Yeah.
That's pretty profound.
I remember my aunt kept at his funeral, she just kept trying to pinch me because I wouldn't cry. But I didn't know the guy.
I didn't know. Yeah, you can't cry for what you don't know.
Right. So
that's interesting. We're gonna come back to that. So when you started playing sports as a young man, and you know, I sympathize with you and I empathize with you because, you know, I had my dad growing up, and his recent passing, it makes me wonder, like, dang, I can only imagine what it would have been like if I didn't have that male figure, just not even as a female, but just as a two-parent home. So, like, as you're playing sports and you're looking in the stands, and do you remember what that was like? Were you affected by it, or did you kind of just brush it off and just keep going? Like, how did that affect you at that young age?
I don't remember telling you that part, but it's kind of interesting because I never remember seeing my mom there.
Really?
Come to any of my games, or
do you remember in that
high
moment
school,
thinking where, why, or you just let it be?
I never thought about it. I just, you know, I don't know. I never, you know, this maybe could have been traumatic, but I never processed things like.
Jandel.
Yeah, people say
but that
it's traumatic.
explains why your demeanor is the way it is now.
Oh, really?
You've had to just go on. You've never really had, or let me ask this instead of assuming this. I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask you. Have you ever really sat down and processed all of your life story?
No, for what?
Case in point, you would be the perfect thesis. If I could go back to school, I would want to write a thesis just on you.
Well, you know, I think we sit down and we dwell on so much in life.
There's a difference between dwelling and processing, though.
Here's the problem with processing. What are you trying to rehash?
But rehash or grow, because, okay, I'll answer that, because I ponder the same thing, and, you know, I've had conversations. I wanted to change the trajectory, especially having a male son, because what you don't address keeps going, and what you don't address, you marry. So that's why I wanted to do it.
How you do that? You continue to process and proceed.
You can only hold on to what you choose to hold on to.
Well, see, because at the end, we all, you know, I see a lot of kids do this, you know. Sometimes do we sit back and think that our parents, was a product of something as well?
Well, we all are, but it also helps us understand. See, I'm an inquisitive person. I ask questions. I'm gonna ask why.
I know.
You know that. You know, even we're working together. Like, but why? Why is the agency doing this? Why? Well, that's just how it is. But that's not good enough for me. I want to know why, because for the why, there's a causation. Because I'm trying to figure out if we can change how this is going. It's gonna make my life easier. You know what I mean? I want to change it so I can breathe.
Well, it's because you know why, but you want to hear from someone. You want to
validation, and I want that validation. But why? Take me back to my trauma, not being validated. That's what I'm saying. It's a full circle. It comes full circle, and it shows us who we are as adults.
See, the funny part about all of it is why I say this, because my mother was also a product of a child that was pretty much separated from her parents. But she never knew how to show that connection
and emotion.
Emotion.
She swept culturally, like we all, minorities, we sweep it under the rug. And then when somebody moves that rug, everything we swept under there is underneath and comes out and hits us like a ton of bricks.
But you know, you don't always have to find love in the same format everybody else has it. I understood her, so I accepted what she was and who she was as well.
But in your understanding, because you are human, before you got to be mature and wise and understanding, what was that like as a child, seeing your teammates with their parents in the stands and yours wasn't? Before you got to your wisdom, before you got to that, I'm saying in that moment, that little 14, 15, 16-year-old Jandel.
You know what? The sad part about it is, and maybe that's just how I was wired, and I have not been rewired until I became an adult. I never even thought about it.
So it never bothered you?
It never even registered to me as if it was something, because as you're playing, I never focused on who's out there on the stand. I didn't know anybody. Only thing I seen was that guy in front of me. I was going to try to get him, or he was going to try to get me.
And for those who don't know, what sport did you play?
Football.
Okay. And that was your love. That was your focus.
Yeah, I love football.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that didn't bother you, but do you think that football was your outlet, your release to be able to get what you weren't addressing out on the field? Because I hear that a lot from athletes too. And even coaches will say, "Take it out on the field. Take it out on the field." But
I always knew football could take me on this certain place for distance in life. You know?
And you did play in college, right?
I actually went to play, and it didn't work out.
Why didn't it work out?
Well, the young boy, the knuckle brain that I was, the streets did end up catching up to me at a very early age. At the age of 18, I got in some major trouble, and by the time I tried to get myself enrolled in college, the funny story. As smart as some people may think I was, at the time, I was transferring from junior college to a university out of state, and I was supposedly going to school for about a year and a half or 2 years, but I probably had a .066 credit.
Oh, God.
I don't have no clue what happened there, but that was not my focus. I was wild. I want to have fun. I was enjoying life, and I was ready to explore the world until I finally slowed down. And
so I know how to interpret you because you give very general, but we y'all know we gonna take it there. We gonna get into some things. This is what we do, right? This is what we do, guys. So the streets was calling, all right. The street just calling. I heard them when I was asleep. But no, for real though, did you feel that sense of belonging because you weren't getting whatever you needed at home, but you were getting it out in the comfort of your boys, or what influenced you or persuaded you so much to be in the streets like that?
Well,
what attracted you to it?
I speak in third person, Jindal, which is I. I've always wanted to be loved.
So you wanted that sense of belonging.
I wanted everybody loved me. Mm-hmm. So I knew what it took to get love. Mm-hmm. I was gonna be the nicest dressed person. Mm-hmm. I was gonna try to make the most money.
People gonna look up to me.
People always look up to me, and they always need me and want me to be around. So
you wanted to be needed. You wanted to be needed.
Absolutely.
I felt like you were needed.
Because I didn't have that at an early childhood. If you're gonna do therapy,
we're having a conversation.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So, in all reality, if
and let's not get it twisted, you guys. Jindal and I met working in social services field. So yes, you have a master's in business administration, right? That's you have your MBA. But Jindal also has the mind of a little baby clinician, because you do assess. So you may not have the schooling for it, but you have the real life skills for it. So you okay? So just so people know, I can only therapize Jindal so much.
I can't. It's hard to run from this field,
right? Because
of what I've seen from the roads that I've taken, the routes that I've walked.
Your heart is in it. Quick story time. I remember our parts had separated. We weren't working together anymore. I had left. You had left. I came back, and you were still gone. And for those who don't know, we worked for an agency where we would place some pretty tough foster kids, the kids that essentially were abused and neglected, and that nobody wanted. Unfortunately, it's a reality because they couldn't get foster homes, so they would have to go into group homes, whatever the case may be. And this is probably 3 or 4 years after you and I were no longer working together. I had to make my way down to Vero Beach for a kid. I had to yank him by his bootstraps. I had to really sit this kid down. And I got in front of him and I called you and I said, Jindal, you won't believe who's in front of me. I said his name and he said, Jindal, Mr. Jindal. And at that moment, that kid, of course, between you doing your thing, talking to him, me doing my thing, and me buying him 36 wings. I still don't know what he did with 36 wings, but I bought them. That kid, I didn't hear a peep out of him until a year later when he turned 18 and aged out.
Wow.
And prior to that, and I'm sure you remember who I'm talking about, but this particular child, for those who don't know, he was bouncing. He had been from Jacksonville to Key West to Orlando. We had nothing for him. I went up to Vero Beach to basically beg the placement and him to act right just till he's 18, please. But I say all that to say, your approach to young men is something that our culture needs, and especially in this little town. And it wasn't even a matter of you forcing it or anything. Even from you acknowledging, we got to get this kid some shoes. You always made sure what a young man needed. And you were like that with girls, but it was all. I always knew you would let us as women handle that, because it was a slope that y'all handle that, and you always gave us that that room to do that, and I thank you for that. But when it came to our young men, I just want to make sure you know how much of impact, because those kids, because I still work there and you don't, they make their way back around.
Absolutely.
And your name is still talked and brought about.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make sure that you knew that. So anyway, so let me get back on track here. So with you seeing what the streets, quote unquote, had, and you feeling that sense of belonging, and then you trying to, did you feel like you going out of state was going to pull you away from that? Were you trying to get away at that point, at that stage in your life?
Everybody knew the road that I had taken.
Do you want to get into what happened?
We can. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Okay, so what'd you
I
do?
mean, I'm beyond that now.
What choice did you make at that? What were you, 18, 17, 18?
I was 18.
Okay, so you
Not
couldn't, this
even-
wasn't even DJJ baby charges no more. Now you an adult now.
No, I'm an adult. Me and a couple friends. You know, I mean, me and one of my brothers. I mean, we still silent brothers all the time. Still to this day, I love him to death. But we kind of, funny enough, we kind of met through church. You know.
And what y'all was doing? Y'all was hitting licks on people in the church house?
Well, our parents, you know, we all lived in this little small area around 6th Ave, 2nd Ave, down in Dade County. And at the time, we all went, you know, faithfully to church every Friday night. So,
Like a youth group?
like a youth group.
Okay.
So we started hanging out a little bit more and more and more. And as we got older, we started doing different things, hanging out at the strip clubs and doing different wild stuff. And then all of a sudden, we found ourselves figuring out we're going to make more money. And, you know, the other guys around us had money, so we kept trying to figure out. So we ended up getting more and more in debt into it, and we ended up getting caught for a case. We had a case of armed robbery. You know,
Hold on a minute. Oh, what you used, Chantal? Because you know we got to get into it. What? Who'd you get a lick with? Who? Tell because you know, and honestly, in all truthfulness, the reason why I'm going there is because the whole point of this podcast is to show people that no matter what our past is like, you still are sitting before me with a master's degree. You could be a doctor in 3-4 classes, so your past does not have to define you. Listen to me loud and clear. This is the point. So I'm not trying to get you to read, and we talked about all this beforehand, y'all, so I'm not putting him on the spot, even though y'all know I get into some things. But my guests always give me the go ahead and okay. So the whole point of this is not to talk about or chastise or anything like that. This is to teach, because you are the epitome of I don't have to let my past define me.
Absolutely.
So, but also too, for people that are thinking about it, I want y'all to know it's gonna catch up to you. Like you hit a space in your life where you could have went right, left, straight. You had that choice, so we don't get to choose our consequences,
Well,
right?
that's kind of some of the reason why I work with the young boys the way I work with them. And I don't call it working. I call it love. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? I call it guidance. I call it
direction.
That's what leaders do.
Yes.
You know, when you don't look down on people in life, you know, you don't degrade people.
And that's why you were such a good supervisor, because anybody could be a boss or a supervisor, but you definitely were a leader. Definitely.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I've always been one of those kids that other kids could look up to. You know, no matter what it was. I was a protector at heart.
Yeah.
You know, and I think at the time that I was making these decisions, there's a couple underlying factors that led me through those places.
Right.
You know, it's as simple as I could remember it being maybe prior to me transitioning to be that person. I could remember, you know, my mom and her ex-husband going through some problems at the time, and she, you know, I went up to her because she was crying, and I was trying to soothe her. I rubbed her head. I say, "Mama, everything gonna be okay." In my mind, I knew everything would be okay because I'd take care of you. You know, I'll get you out this misery. And I remember she pushed my hand and she said, "Boy, move away from me. It's your fault." So,
What was your fault? That he left?
well, it's my fault that whatever he's doing to her is because I was the little child outside of
You weren't his real.
In
his
my
real,
mind, she
quote, unquote.
never. Now, we're going back to the Haitian roots where those parents don't talk to you.
Right.
In my thought process, I was like, damn, I'm screwing these people up. I'm screwing this family up.
Now, for those who don't know, you have a brother.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that brother, you guys have different dads.
Different. Yeah, that was his dad.
So you already felt that I'm not biologically yours. I see the difference in the treatment, and therefore you saying that is confirming what I've been seeing and feeling.
There's so many different
underlying
layers. Factors that led to this place and this kid that
What age
was
were you
like,
at about
what's that?
when she said that to you?
About 14, 15 years old.
So that's
And
why I
that
remember I
literally-
said that awkward age.
Oh no,
middle
that's
school.
a very difficult age, and that's why, as my own biological son, when he started getting older, around that same age, he looked at me and said, "Get away from me! You're not my dad." And now it was going in full circle. Remember what I said?
Everything
What happened to that child could have happened to that other child when
Right.
they were younger as well. And I remember him saying that. I said, "Boy, you don't know nothing about this life." I said, "But I'm not going to stop doing what I do. I'm going to keep teaching because
And he
you
was
just
what age?
misguided right now." But he
And-
would, my son at the time, he was only 14.
So that same age.
Same age around me,
Oh,
but
so I'm dreading Aaron being 14.
I've already been through the same
Right. You understood.
place.
You
I already get it, and that's why I say, when you work with love and passion, compassion, all of it will
It comes
come
together.
in full circle,
It
and they'll
does.
all come together.
It does.
And he's somebody that taught me so much because he was the same kid that turned around and said, "Dad, why did you do it? You didn't have to."
Right.
But I didn't tell my mom that.
Right.
But I knew my mom loved me. But
Of
I
course.
knew as a battered woman at the
Right.
time she was going through pain.
Right.
So, but at the time, it's
You
hard
didn't see
for a
that.
14-year-old
Of course,
child.
you can't
get that
process
picture.
all that. So when when you got that robbery charge, because I know what you did, so I'm going back there. Tell me about that night. What you remember?
Was
about it?
the
Yeah, that night that y'all made that decision.
Ooh.
Because you don't strike me as a criminal, Jindal.
Well, see, but then again, that's the judgment
That's
part
why-
of the world.
Yeah.
I've never been a criminal.
See, if I was to rob a bank, I would tell you, because I know you couldn't confirm nor deny, but I wouldn't bring you along for the lick. I would call you and be like, "Yo, I was with you," because I know you'd be like, "Sherelle did what?" I can't confirm nor deny that, but I know you have my back like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but what made you and your homeboy? I know you said the money, but how did you get caught?
Actually, put it this way.
Did you rob a bank? What'd you do?
No. I mean, well, you guys don't know everyone involved in it. I mean, it was actually 4 of us, and that night we just went out doing dirty stuff.
Who was the brains behind the operation?
You know what? We were young and dumb and wild and
And
did
impulsive.
not give up
Mhm.
nothing about nothing.
Hmm.
We were impulsive.
And what did you have to lose at that point? You felt like probably.
We don't have
right?
nothing to lose. What do we
Mhm.
have to lose? You're
Mhm.
coming from what? A third world
Right.
country?
So all of you guys were from.
Yeah, we all
Okay.
came from same little country. We're coming
Okay.
from third world country. Our
Mhm.
parents live in poverty. We don't have no
Mhm.
money. Everybody's driving nice cars. We don't have
We
nothing.
want that, yeah.
We didn't have no desire, no wants. We just knew the environment we grew up in.
And you want to get out of it. And all that stuff, all those material things were appealing to you.
well, you know what? For me, I never even processed anything of what happened. That's why I was never a criminal at heart or a thug or nothing
That's
like
why
that.
you don't. I know you.
You know, I can't even tell you how it all unfolded. I just remember how it, we ended up doing what we did. But I remember sitting in my cell, and that was the first time in all reality I was able to think, because I lived in fight or flight mode
Right.
my whole life.
I was gonna ask you that.
You
yeah.
know, so when I sat in the cell and
you
I
were,
finally
you were
realized,
forced to be still.
right now, don't forget the same kid that was, his chain was just taken off his neck
Exactly.
at
right.
8 or 9 years old.
Right. Right.
So at the time, I was never going to let that happen again.
Right.
But when I was sitting in the cell, I'm like, all right, God, if I could get out this, I promise I will change. But my change was going to be to help others, to not go to the places I've been. I could have went to Wall Street. I could have been a doctor, lawyer, whatever I wanted to be. But I chose this cheap paying job that don't pay me nothing.
But we know we got
I
in
know
this
we
field
work
because of
with
our heart.
You know what I mean? So I was ready to give back to society because I made a mistake.
So do you feel like when you had that moment sitting there and you were talking to God and God gave you that second chance, essentially, you knew not to play with that?
Well, you can't play with that.
Is it safe to say that you and the 3 others or 4, however many of you guys were, did they take the same?
I wrote out.
Right, or did they kind of?
I didn't care about anybody else. But
Well, looking back at now.
I mean, at the
looking
time,
at
it was
now.
just me and my one brother.
Okay.
I mean, the other 2 guys, I had no clue.
Oh, okay. They were just kind of
We
along.
went to school, we hung
got
out
you.
and stuff. But my only guy that I really cared about is the guy that we grew up together.
Right, that's your boy.
Went to church, went to school
Okay.
together. And I knew at the time he was not always that guy, but, you know, come from the same type of neck of woods. And dealt with the same little things. But I don't know how it prevailed him.
And the only reason why I ask that is because, as we grow and we become a parent and things and you start to change and you made that agreement with God, you knew that with me making this agreement and God giving me that second chance, I essentially have to change where I put myself. And I can't open my being up to just anyone. So that's why I'm wondering, since that was your rider, essentially, was it a situation where you knew I kind of have to love this brother from afar? You know what I mean?
My brother, I'm always love him, but
did you have to do it from over here because he was pulling you? Like, you know what I'm saying? You see,
sometimes if you want to progress in life, you got to get rid of things that's causing you regrets.
Exactly.
So I need
wisdom.
a complete change. Because at the time as I sat in jail cell, I remember the revelation that came to me. And it's funny because it was this. I was sitting there, read a couple passages. Biblical verses and stuff like that, because like I said, I was already spiritually inclined at the time. I had went through my little spiritual moments, and it was a pigeon that came up to the window. I kept looking outside the window, and I'm like, man, God, I want to be out. I know you will deliver me, because that's not my heart. That's not who I am. I never intended to do this. I made the biggest mistake of my life.
And maybe that had to happen to sit you down for making something bigger. But anyway, go on about this pigeon.
It needed to happen.
Yeah, it did.
Because I probably would have been dead.
Right.
I mean, the way that the road that I was headed, I would have possibly died. But, like I said, I think after God said, I'm going to deliver you. So once he delivered me, I realized.
Wait, what? Tell me about the pigeon, though. What happened with the pigeon? What happened with the pigeon?
Oh, the pigeon, it came to the window, and it spread its wings in front of me, like literally, like boom. But I remember just asking God, and to help me get removed from this situation, and I went back to, because I was sitting in court. I mean, I got found not guilty. That's the reason I'm in this situation now, that I can be who I want to be.
Because it didn't fall. It didn't have to weigh you down.
It didn't hold me down.
But imagine if it would have went the other way.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. I want to show
the criminal
people
justice
choices.
system is a horrible place.
Yes, it is. It is.
Unfortunately,
especially in that geographical area, Miami, where
it's bad.
It's very bad.
It's. I mean, there's a lot more we could talk about with that, but I remember go back to that story. I remember going back to court because I was in deliberation for like 16 hours, going back and forth, and I remember. That same night after I seen that pigeon, and I knew I was gone. I knew I was leaving, and I knew I was going to be free. And I remember saying, thank you, God. And before the jury came out kind of confused, don't know what to charge me with, because there was nothing to charge me with. There was coercion from law enforcement officers that, I'm listening to my friends getting beat up in the jail. But, I mean, that's beside the point, because they did do wrong as well. We did do wrong, but they don't deserve to get beat.
Right.
Deserve to get a gun put in your face. But we did the same dumb crap, so I guess we do deserve some
it comes, but that's not up to y'all to decide.
But that was not up to us to decide. But I just remember that judge said, the jury found me not guilty.
Mm.
And I remember walking out that door and smelling that fresh air, and I knew at that moment that I was going to be something different. And I knew that was my decisive moment.
Right.
And working at, my old job, I won't call them names,
Right, right.
companies, but I remember walking one day when I was 18 years old. They were booking me in the back door through the gates.
Mm-hmm.
And 20 to 30 years later, I remember walking into this deliberation room with the mayor, with this, secretary of, state of Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these police chief, and discussing human trafficking and,
Wow.
discussing
And the
different
roles
topics.
had totally.
And the life had totally changed. But
Mm.
I asked people, what if I gave up on that same kid, that every kid that came through that foster parent house, what if that foster parent gave up on that child?
Mm.
It wouldn't be me, so.
We're gonna pause right there. That's some food for thought. You know what? We're gonna take a quick break. Shout out to our sponsors, Chris Madsen over at Creative Learning Lab Academy. Make sure y'all light that chat up. It's interactive. Y'all have any questions, comments, anything? Light it up. We're here to listen. We want to hear your feedback, and just show some love to Jindal. We'll be right back.
Yeah, you good?
We're not done yet.
Join our network of podcasts and talk shows on TreasureCoastRadio.com. Go to www.treasurecoastradio.com for more information. Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin County, covering the Treasure Coast 24/7. TreasureCoastRadio.com.
New to St. Lucie County, Creative Learning Lab Academy. Founded in 1972 in Los Angeles, California, with over 50 years of educating students, Creative Learning Lab Academy is now in St. Lucie County. Call us today to place your young scholar's name on the registration list. Creative Learning Lab Academy, 855-830-2552, is now accepting applications from 3 months old to 5th grade. Creative Learning Lab Academy provides 21st century curriculum, clubs, and activities for our young scholars, including chess, robotics, coding, dance, music, basketball, soccer, and golf. We accept all programs, including Step Up for Students and VPK. We offer private pay and in-house financing. Transportation will be provided to those who qualify. Creative Learning Lab Academy strives to create an environment where teachers, students, and parents are a family. It has been their belief for 50 years that
No child has to fail, and every child can be exceptional.
they embrace the following concept.
I am because we are.
For more information, contact us at 855-830-2552. Again, that's 855-830-2552, or visit creativelearningslc.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Treasure Coast Radio.
Let me tell you about this girl, maybe I should. I met her in Philly, and her name was Brown Sugar. See, we be making love constantly, that's why my eyes are a shade blood burgundy. The way that we kiss isn't like any other way that I be kissing when I'm kissing. What I'm missing, won't you listen? Brown sugar, babe, I guess high up your love, I don't know how to be your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar. Oh, sugar, when you're close to me, you love me right down to my knees. And whenever you let me
Welcome back to Mindset with Sherelle and our wonderful, wonderful guest, Jindal. Thank you so much again for joining us, and for, of course, and for being willing to speak. Because, like I said, you guys, this is huge for Jindal. Jindal is so calm and laid back. I gotta push. I gotta poke But it's all love, and I just thank you. And this is all for the greater common good. For the whole point is to be better today than we were yesterday, right?
Absolutely.
And the field we work in, you're doing that. You've even with what you said, like with the mentorship with young men, and I remember you used to coach and stuff too, if I remember correctly. And you definitely you have a heart that without love we can't do anything. So you're not just talking about it, you are about it. So there's a whole point behind this, okay? So before we took our break, we were just kind of talking about just the choices and how that life had just kind of come back full circle, and you were on opposite ends of cuffs, right? Essentially, you were getting booked, and then you're not, and then you're like, wow, I'm with the mayor, I'm with the Senate secretary, and I'm talking about human trafficking and just things that are just ongoing issues, and still to this day ongoing issues that our state is in desperate need of resources and help with. When you're able to do that and you realize, okay, you know what, college didn't work out for you playing ball the way you had planned because of your choice, but we all know that there's consequences for everything and we don't get to pick them.
Absolutely.
Did you have a hard time with adjusting because you wanted to play, or you were okay with it?
That was perfect. That's never.
And how do you think you were? Why do you think you were okay with that? Because I would think that would have been like earth shattering. Like, what?
That's not promised to you.
Mm,
The only thing that's promised is your mind.
that's right.
So that was a physical attribute that you had,
Hmm.
but you didn't. If you have your brain, you don't need any other
Right,
physical attribute.
right.
You can be a pretzel and still make
Mhm.
millions of dollars.
Mhm.
As athletes, you need to have your
Physical agility. You're right.
to be able to make your income.
So you've always been wise ever since a young age. You were able to see the.
I first when I first started, I explained how I was left in Haiti with my. Actually, I thought I was initially left in Haiti with my grandmother.
Hmm.
So I grew up with my grandmother, at the time, and then my grandmother gave me to my aunt
Mm.
until for the next couple of years. But I just remember grandmother teaching me the ropes, teaching me how to wash clothes at 4 or 5 years old at the river on a rock, you
Mm.
know, falling asleep on a donkey while we're going to wash clothes.
So
in
you
the river.
really was out there like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I was born in '75, but at
That
the
ain't
time
bad.
I'm in a third world
Okay.
country
I
in
mean,
'75.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. Where my grandfather lives in Puerto Rico. I mean, the way them roosters and going up to the mountains and watching, having no electricity. So I get it. That's why I
Yeah,
never
we
went
slept,
back.
woke up
Yeah.
with no electricity.
Oh yeah,
So
that house was hot as
we had to
hell.
carry a bucket of water on my head for my grandmother to help her carry the
Wow.
clothes and stuff like that. So
Wow. So you kind of had that mature mentality
at
already.
a
You had that
very early
mindset.
age, I seen things where most young kids can't see.
Right. It's interesting because you use your verbiage. You use words like "gave me away,"
The
or
what?
you use words like "gave me away," or "sent me." Do you that did that resonate in a way with you growing up because you felt like you were kind of tossed?
No, I mean I just thought that's just what they had to do. However,
I mean, I didn't
well,
go
an
from family member to family
American
member.
child that was brought up in America that were more privileged.
Let me
to
ask
have.
you: would you give your girls or your son away?
I mean, they're not a descendant of children that coming from third world country. Their situation is different.
So
But
you were able to see that at a young age. You understood
absolutely,
that.
I can't
Really?
never blame those folks.
No, not a matter of I'm not saying blame. I'm saying being developmental, and especially being a man, a young man, growing up and not understanding and having that part of your brain to where you don't understand the reasoning behind it.
Let me put it this way: it hurts. Does it hurt? Absolutely. Do you process, think about it? Absolutely. But was it done maliciously?
Right.
And,
The intention.
Always, even with the field that we in, we think about, even with the criminal justice system, we think about the due process. You think about the intent of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Was it premeditated?
Right, you're right. Yeah.
When you think about it in simple layman's term, do you look at? Do you think your mom really hated you?
No.
She sent to get you when she was able to. Like, we have so many displaced children, but a lot of time we absorb it. It does hurt that child because they go through that traumatic event.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I mean, I'm not gonna say every kid is like me, because me, I was more
You're
prone
very
to thinking like
resilient,
my
too. Yeah.
grandmother,
Yeah.
how she tried to cultivate all of us to make sure that she took care of us. That's what the old school did.
Mhm.
It took a village
It
to
took a
raise
village,
a child,
for sure, for
So
sure.
for me, it was never something that my mother did intentionally. She was also a product of her environment. you
And
know?
no, and that's, but that it just goes to show, even though you didn't willingly think that, your actions kind of show that you were angry.
Angry?
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
impulsiveness and your, so even though you didn't, and in knowing you, I can confidently say that words, like, how everybody has a love language. Words
Yes,
of affirmation are very important to you.
absolutely.
And I can confidently say that when someone gives you that encouragement, now seeing that, and as long as I've known you, seeing that, why words are so important, your word is your bond, why that means so much to you, it resonates more now. I understand it
Absolutely.
because of that. So and that's a part of your story. That's part of all of our stories. You know what I mean? So that's, for you, I know you really haven't taken, you don't ponder, you don't, I mean, you ponder, but you don't dwell. You don't stay on something long, because I think that if you do, you feel like it'll hold you down and you won't get back up. So
Why,
that's
why hold on to it?
absolutely,
I,
absolutely.
I'm not trying to create my mental illness.
I know, right?
I'm not
The one
trying
that's
to add
already
on
there.
to.
No.
I'm not trying to add on to my mental
I know,
illness.
right?
I know I
right?
have these issues. Don't
We
get
all
me wrong,
do.
but
We all do.
sometimes I gotta.
But look at how you changed
Okay.
it, though.
Absolutely.
So when you moved on, and you decided education is the only thing no one's ever going to take from us, and like I said, you were a big motivating factor in my success in grad school. When pushing through, when I had those long nights of being in class in Boca till 10, 11 o'clock, and then having to get up and come to work at at 7 a.m. in the next morning, tired as heck. You were always that encouraging, motivating factor. So when you were able to go on and start your own family, because I know you're girl, so you're pride and joy.
That's
Y'all
my
talk
business.
about my son having me wrapped around his finger. I remember your youngest daughter's, and I'll never forget, because I think she came in the office. This was when we had little catalogs, and it was like a circular for Christmas time. And she came in and said, "Dad, I could really use this, because I could sit down and read my book." And y'all, it was a pedicure thing with lights and and she said, "Daddy, if you buy this for me, I can read and do my homework while I get my feet done." And it was like, I'm already, and she must have been second grade, maybe second grade, little. And I'm like, that's right, my dog, you get on me, suckle board every day. But to see the light, I mean, your eyes just light up. I mean, and to see your girls grow, because they're adults now. I mean,
I know.
it's
I know,
crazy.
I
Like,
know.
but you still, I admire that love. And even with your son, I see, he made your grandpa. Congratulations. But you to see that love that you have between your kids, and you had them. I mean, you didn't have them too young, right? I mean, you were in.
No, not really.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, compared to.
My oldest daughter at 22. Yeah.
I mean, so
was.
you were young, but it's not like you were teens. So you were still trying to figure it out. But
Right.
what was so important for you to change that trajectory of how, like you said, the way your mom was a product of how things happened in her life, you were. How was it so important for you to change that? Or did you find it hard? Was it easier said than done? Did you just say,
It
I'm
was
just not going to
natural.
let this be? Or what was
It
it
was
like?
natural.
Because you wanted it so bad. You had already told yourself.
Um. Yeah, I want it so bad. I don't know if
Well,
I
that you
wanted
didn't
children
want it.
back.
No, that you didn't want history to repeat itself so bad.
You know what? I never. It possibly could have been. I never processed it, thought about it that way.
But you're the definition of our subconscious is 80% of what we don't know we're thinking about.
Exactly.
Because you're 80%. You said it was just natural. It just,
Yeah.
But you didn't think you wanted kids at first?
Kids?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
I didn't think I was
didn't
going to
know
have
that.
kids.
I
at
didn't know
first.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was just going to be a play. I thought I was just going to just enjoy life and live
And
life,
then
and I didn't have
What
the
you do, like they all do,
responsibilities.
you went and got a light skin because we do it best, right? That's exactly what you did. So anyway, keep going.
You know, my girls, my son didn't ask to be here. I, like I said, you seen the roads that I took, to get to where I need to get to. None of those children asked to be abused, neglected, anything of that nature. we chose to go lay down with our significant other and bring them, conceive them, bring them to this world. So if I was going to bring any child to this world, I had to make sure I take care of them and give them what every child's looking for. The only thing they're asking is for love.
That's it. Consistent
And
love.
if I can give them love, I never had to give my children really money. But they could take them. They can take everything out of my pocket. I would not have a problem. I'll go find another way to make the money. But as long as I can give them love, that's all they was gonna ever need. That was wealthier than anything in the world.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's why, you know, still to this day, no matter, you know, I'll start talking about them. I probably start crying, but I won't cry about nothing
I
about
know.
else
I know
because
that's the one. I saw the eyes
that's the only time I really have that kind of emotion, because their pain is my pain. But like I say, watching these, I think it was the reality hit me when I was working in the foster care system down in Miami, and I was very early in my career. I was only 26, and I'm that's 22 years later.
Wow.
And I remember picking up this little girl, and her mother had just abused her, and the mother must have burnt her with she had an iron mark in her back. I don't think the mother intentionally did it, but because of her drug addiction and her negligence, she had an iron mark in the back. And at the time, I had just moved back home to Miami, and my daughter was still in Youngstown, Ohio, with my wife at the time. And I remember picking this girl because at the time they used to drop the children at the office with us.
And for those who don't know, these are the child protective investigators. So when you call abuse hotline, Jindal was the one that was going out at that time of your career.
Right.
The front line, like, you know, I got a car seat in the car. We're doing a removal. Child's coming with me. So for those who don't, okay.
Thank you for saying that. And I remember the little girl when I put her, I tied her up. At that time, I had a Ford F-150 pickup truck. I put her in the back seat, and I remember the little girl at 3 years old. I took her to this foster parent house. I checked the foster parent house. The room was very nice and clean, and I was taking her out. I was leaving her from out the car, and I was leaving her in the foster parent house, and she looked at me and grabbed me and said, "Are you going to come back and pick me up to take me to mommy's house?" And at being only 26 years old in my career at that time, that kind of like almost like devastated me.
Yeah. Because no matter how abused or neglected a child is, they will stand before a judge. They will always want to go back to their mom.
Back to that.
Their atmosphere.
At the time, my daughter was 3, and she's in another state. So now I'm crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's just happened to me? So at that decisive moment, I realized, geez, what did she do? She just wants to love you, but you rather choose this drug over this child. So I knew, and I vouched for myself, to never not give my children love. Because if I give them love, they will survive. That's all they need.
But that's us as a human race. All we need is love.
Like,
you know, as long as somebody can consistently show you that they love you and that they have your best interest at heart, and there's no malice.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's where you, from what I know about you and what I can confidently say, that's where you've become such a good judge of character as it relates, because you don't just keep anybody around. Neither do I.
No.
You know, if we don't fool with somebody, you know me, there are days where I didn't even come out my office because I didn't fool with people who came up in there. So I'm not even leaving my desk. So, you know, you are able to read that. And that definitely was a blessing for you to be able. But I also wonder, because you've always had that gift of discernment, how many times have you felt, and, you know, scientifically and spiritually, our belly is our second brain. That's our, you know, that's our intuition. Has there been situations where you didn't listen to your second gut and then knew the outcome, or how did you kind of handle that? Because I know you battle your own thoughts, and, you know, how do you, just for people listening, how did you kind of cope, and how do you cope? Because I know it's an ongoing thing.
That's a tough one. Coping is an everyday struggle that we're going to continue to do. I don't always listen to my gut, but God do. God listen.
Yeah, that's right.
unfortunately, there's, it's like you did the crime, you did the time. You didn't listen to your gut, so guess what? You got to suffer the consequences.
And you don't get, like I said, you don't get to pick them either.
And you don't get to pick them. And I'm a firm believer that, if I do not do as I should, I will face the consequences of life.
And that's, whether you're a spiritual person or not, that's karma. And all karma is just balance.
Absolutely.
It's just balance. What you put out there is what you get back. If you have good intentions, you're going to get good back. Absolutely. That's just how, you don't have to be a pastor to do that,
I always try to have a culture, a working environment culture. I always thought, if I come to work, back then, unfortunately, pandemic screwed a lot of us up. It made a lot of us antisocial, and we forgot what humanity was.
Yeah.
But I always kept, the individuals that we work closely hand in hand with each other as family. And the beauty of it is that still to this day, I can say our last 4 of us that all work together, we still periodically
still got a group chat,
still group chatting each other, still talking. But we, if something happened to either one of us, we knew we would be in pain because we would always stand there with each other. But we shared a lot of moments together, but at the same time, we shared the loyalty and the compassion and respect, And see, I always said this: you can't whoop me. So good luck. So at the end of the day, you better learn to give me my respect back, because I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna show you nothing but respect. If you do cross me a certain way, I won't slap you.
Yeah, we gonna get there. We gonna
just keep it moving, and I don't even want a part of you to walk around. I don't put bad energy in my presence.
And I'm I can firmly attest to that, because there was plenty of days I would, and my heels come stomping down that office, and he's like, "Oh shit," here she comes. But you know what? It's like, Jinder, but you always would let me. And because you were, when you mentioned the 4 of us, you knew all of our skill sets, you knew all of our weaknesses, and you knew how we were all able to integrate together and make it work. And most days, I just needed to be validated, and you gave me that. And for people that don't know, our 4 that we had such a tight unit, and this is really where you work really becomes your family. My dad was literally on his deathbed, and Jindell showed up in that ICU and was there when we took my dad off life support. And ironically enough, you were there, one of the other coworkers that I still work with, and the other one, she wasn't there, but her father was the respiratory therapist that stopped the life support. And I will tell you, I don't know if you remember that day, but it was a lot going on. But when I saw you and our other coworker walk through in that door, it just gave me that invisible push that I know. Yeah, our family, my mom, aunties, everybody was there. But when I saw y'all 2 walk in, and even at the funeral, you were there at my graduation. You always supported you and everyone in our unit, and that's coworkers, and that's what I love here about Showcast Studios too, is that we have that tight-knit family. And I don't know, it's just it speaks a lot. God never makes mistakes, and he always puts people in your life, that timing, a reason, a season, and a purpose. And even when we don't see that purpose, it's always on time. And ironically enough, you were supposed to be on the show about 2 months ago, a month ago now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And 4 days before, you had a stroke.
Yes.
And I remember you were so concerned with thinking that you no-showed on me. And I'm like, I got plan A, B, and C lined up,
I felt bad.
But you didn't, though, because you were actually for the next week.
Yeah.
But I remember I had felt in my gut something was off that Saturday or Sunday. I forgot what it was. And I reached out to you not even knowing what happened to you. And I was so concerned because everyone knows when a stroke happens, your speech is slurred. I was so concerned that you weren't going to, and I said, Jindell, whatever you do, you need to make sure you recover from this. Remember that conversation when you were in the hospital? And I am just happy to see that you look great. You're thriving.
My spirit would not let nothing.
Never.
But
Never.
Now, when I go to sleep, I'm gone. You know, but prior to that, if
And you
I'm
be
still
knocked out
alive,
too. No, I'm talking about when you be
I-
sleep,
you
like just
know.
not even past. When you be sleep, you be knocked out, but you need
Right.
that rest.
Right.
You
right,
need that rest.
right.
Your body needs that rest. But no, that day, my mom says, "Thank you." Oh, so true. Thank you, Jindal, for all you did for me and my family. She don't know how to work the chat, but she just sent that text to me. You know my mom
Tell
don't
Mama I
technology.
love her.
She hears you,
Well,
Mama.
I'm always
we love
there.
you.
I'll always be there for you guys.
Yes,
No,
for sure.
Absolutely.
And we'll always be there for you too. But if anything, everybody take away from this podcast, this episode is that in the face of adversity, you were born into an environment that you didn't pick, you didn't choose.
Absolutely.
It wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Yes, you made some choices. You saw the error of your ways. You held yourself at accountability
Absolutely.
and moved forward. You didn't dwell on it. You didn't sit on it. You changed, and you're evolving every day. You're a father. You're girl. I'm a testament. I see your kids. I see the kindness and the sweetness in them both. I mean, just sweet. You did a good job. And the fact that you were called into this field, you were called into the field of social work. You work wonders with our young men. We need that. So if there's ever a doubt in your mind, yes, you're on the right track. Because I see what you're doing, and we need it.
Yeah.
We need it.
Well, it's the way we walk. I mean, I don't have to boast.
No, you don't. That's why I'm
But
doing it for
could
you.
just take a child. I might just say to one little boy, "Hey, young man, stop."
Mhm.
And I'm dead serious.
Mhm.
And you know you gotta stop. I don't have to touch you, dude.
Because you speak, and I will say, y'all, everybody that I have dated, Jindal was right about them.
No, don't say that.
Game recognized game, right? No.
No, don't say that.
Everybody that went left, you were right.
No, well,
You were right.
The
Don't do
type
that.
of
Between you and my
personality you
dad,
had.
y'all was right.
we
So you
sat,
got some.
we
you got
all
some
sat
sense.
down and talked a lot. And at the time, we knew where you come from.
Yeah.
We knew what your mom and your dad wanted for you, and you a hothead, and you
Not anymore. Give me my credit now.
Back then,
Whoa,
back
now.
then, back
Thank
then.
you. Whoa, hold on now. Here, Joelle laughing in the background. I know I'm Latina. Come on now. You want to let's be
No,
frog
back
in the
then,
lead.
back then. Let me clarify that. Back then,
I was.
You,
I was.
yeah.
Like you said, can't whoop me though. But
No, I don't say it the way you said it. See, that's not the way I'm bit. It's the way you said it's like, yeah, come on, bring it. You can't whoop.
Look,
No,
y'all, I'll never forget. And this is my last story, and I'm out because I just want to. This is just just for the crowd to kind of get an idea. There was a time when me, you, and the two others. It was four of us, and I walked into your office, and for y'all that know me, know I wear my facial expressions here. If I'm not having a good day, you're gonna see it. There's no need for my words. It's gonna be all over my face. I walked into your office and I said, I gotta go, and you're like, okay. No lie. I get to my house. He in the car, the two other coworkers in the car, my mom in the car. We all strapped because some boy wanted to be froggy and leap and do some stupid foolishness. Jindal parked 2 streets down. Mama parked 1 street. I got one girl in the house with me. But when I tell you, and nothing violent had to happen, but it was the fact that you guys had my back in a potential situation that could have gone left. And because I didn't have or know the words to say, but my facial expression said it all. And yes, I might have been a little spicy, but I knew when to not mess with crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I knew the difference. So I say all that to say, just love on your people. Love on the people that you have in your corner.
Absolutely.
And give them their flowers when they're here.
Absolutely.
And just, so I thank you for that. I thank you for being a great boss. I thank you for being a great friend. And I thank you for doing this podcast and for just shedding some light. You did great.
So now the world can know about my story.
The world knows about his story. And look, you don't know how many kids. So now when I encounter a difficult kid that's in foster care that hasn't aged out yet, you remember Mr. Jindal, look at this. See, he made it. So can you.
Well, the thing is, every kid going to see their own greatness.
They are.
That's all.
Absolutely. But sometimes it takes that little nudge.
Absolutely.
It's that little nudge. So I don't know. I thank you. I thank you for being such a humble person and just, being you.
Thank
And
you for having me.
Of course. And I thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to our sponsor, Creative Learning Lab Academy. Make sure you guys check them out. And you guys know, tune in every Tuesday from 6 to 7:30. You already know what I'm hitting for, what we're doing. We always bring the heat. We always go somewhere that people, especially in our culture, are afraid to go. And times have changed. It's okay to address what we've swept under the rug. It's okay to go there. It's okay as a culture for us to change the trajectory of the way that society says that we had to handle mental health and how it relates to our life. So thank you guys for tuning in. And you know, I always leave you guys with a quote. Just remember that past failure does not predict future failure. Be brave enough, be bold enough. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin County, covering the Treasure Coast 24/7. TreasureCoastRadio.com. From the Treasure Coast to everywhere around the world. Worldwide. TreasureCoastRadio.com. Join our network of podcasts and talk shows on TreasureCoastRadio.com. Go to www.treasurecoastradio.com for more information.
Don't usually get like this. 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 Reminded of how I met you, tried to catch you falling. Instead I fell off myself and I just can't stop falling. These wings are gonna flap